Welcome back to Between the Levees. I'm joined today by a recently cut loose pilot, Mr. Dion Luter. He has worked 6 years in the industry with Western Rivers, Blessey, and now Marquette. Dion, thank you for joining me here today.
It's good to be here, Sam. It's good to be here, man.
Well, let's start with old Webby. That's our connection. Were you in the wheelhouse when he was recording?
I was not in the warehouse, but he told me that you was gonna do the podcast with him, and I think it was after watch
Okay.
that you all did the podcast together.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, how long have you known him? How long have you been running as his, I guess, steersman?
I've been with Webby for about maybe 3 months. I think when I first got with him, he wanted to give me 60 days total to kind of fine tune me coming from a smaller boat. So I worked with Terrell for a little minute. I guess you could say fleet boat. I was on that Miss Land and we basically worked overages on our bigger boats. So I ran through Kentucky Lock here and there. The Cumberland ran 30 miles of that from Barkley to Smithland City front, and then just ran back to Kentucky Lock. So I had boat handling skills, but when it came to 15, 12, 15, that was too big for me, kind of nervous about it. So when I got with Webby, he basically fine-tuned me and got me ready for 15 plus. So I've been with him for about 60 something days.
What's the biggest tow you've been behind?
The biggest tow I've been behind is probably 30 something barges, and that's when I started my steering with Western Rivers. As far as since I've been with Marquette, as far as posting up 25, I think. And that was just recently, actually, as far as being behind the sticks, not having nobody tell me anything to do. So that was actually what, last week prior.
Okay, and I know you said you worked with old Captain Forbes. Did he steer you at Western, or were you a deckhand for him?
I was both. Actually, I was his mate. So I worked with Western in 2018. Kenny Wilson was my first captain. So I ran up under him for a while. Maybe year and a half. I was his mate. Left, went to Blessey, got my tanking license. And I remember Kenny telling me that if I ever got my license, he'd steer me. Called him back up because I found out when I went to Blessey that it was going to be years, to get into the warehouse. At least that's what I thought. So I ended up getting my license, called up Kenny Wilson, and went back to Western Rivers, rode with him for a little minute. And then I ended up getting with Mike. I met Mike and I was his mate, and I became his steersman. And we had a great time over there. He really showed me the ropes a lot when it came to steering and making sure I knew what I needed to do as far as on deck. So it wasn't handed to me. He made sure I got it out the mud, as they say, made sure I worked for it. So Kev Mike was something else. He was a character. He wasn't stuck up or anything like that. Anything that he knew, he told me about it. He taught me. He'd come out there on tow with me. And I'm a guy, I feel like when I was on deck, I felt like I knew what I was doing. I didn't need no help out there. And Mike would come out there, tighten up ratchets, come out there and lay wires with me, me thinking I'm doing something wrong. He just come out there as if he was a hand or a mate, get busy with me. And I respected that a lot about him, any captain, that'll come out there and, come out and work with the deck crew doesn't show how big that they are, that they can still come down and, work with the crew. So I like that about Mike. He was something special.
I know he likes to cut up. He confessed to beating Ty Matheny in the back of the head with a tennis ball or something that he found. Any stuff like that?
Well, I don't think I got a chance to, but whenever I started steering with him, little stuff that I do, he say, look, if you keep doing that, I'm gonna get my broomstick or whatnot, and I'm gonna start getting you. That way you'll stop. I never got to it, but he told me about it, so I was looking forward to it just in case it was coming.
Well, let's work our way up to the wheelhouse. So tell me the very beginning, bud. Where were you born? What was your childhood? I guess what steered you to the industry? Did anybody else in the family?
So 2018, I started. I was at Southeastern Louisiana. I did a little school. Um, and the funny thing is, I was in school. I've always did great in school, nothing less than a B. And I was taking chemistry and trig at the same time. Worst thing ever in my life. And I was finally failing something. So I had a cousin from Kenner, Louisiana, and he called me up one day. He said, "Hey, D, you wanna make such and such amount of money?" I said, "Yeah, it's better than failing class." So I dropped out of school. That's when I met Bill Straight down here at 164 Convent. Talked to him on a Tuesday. He had me on a boat by Friday. So that's how I started out here. Riley Elizabeth was my first boat. Captain Red, long hair, tatted up. I said, man, this towboat right here, this boating. And that's how I started in the industry. So I guess you could say me and him started at the same time. So I would say we're both kind of the first ones in my family that kind of started in this industry. Be honest with you, where I'm from, I can't tell you nothing about towboating. We really know if we're gonna go out and work, or if people say offshore or whatnot, it's mainly oil field. So my plans were to come straight out of high school, go work in the oil field. And the reason I like working in that type of industry, I said, well, I'm gonna have a easy schedule, 14 and 14 maybe, and I was gonna make decent money, and that's kind of what I've always wanted to do. But like I said, I knew nothing about towboating. I only saw it like in movies. You may see a boat with barges in a movie going up on a bridge or whatnot, but I never knew I'd find myself doing that. So when he introduced me to that, I thought it was just that, just dry cargo. And then that's when I found out, the more I got into the industry, the more I found out about tanking and ships and things of that nature, and other careers in this industry. So that's what kind of broadened my perspective on this industry. So that's kind of how I got started into it. And I would say I love it. I'd say I always tell others, coming out here, your laundry's paid, taken care of. You don't have to really worry about gas. You have cooks on the boat. The money that you make is your money, and I take that any day over anything else, and when you're home, you're home. The only thing that may suck is the fact that, you're gone a certain amount of time. Granted, you got different schedules with different companies, but most of all, once you get that time back home, you're home. You don't have to worry about nobody calling you back, anything like that. So that's kind of what I like about this industry. So far, since I've been out here, like I said, I started in 2018. I haven't had any problems as far as getting on boats, being laid off or anything like that. So I can say it's been a plus in my life as far as career. And I tell anybody, you could get a homeless man and he could start his life on a boat one day and turn it around, in a couple hitches. So I think this is a great industry, and I tell anybody that, come get on the boats, man. You won't go wrong.
You said you went to Southeastern and ended up dropping out. My wife and I actually graduated from there. I
Oh,
certainly never took trig or chemistry. That was not my jam.
don't do
Uh,
it.
I had a calculus class at Loyola actually in New Orleans that
Yeah.
I had a D. Ended up that was my only D I think ever. But anyway, walk me through your life. I think you said you were born in Hattiesburg, up to Southeastern, I guess. Fill me in on your background.
Um, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I have four brothers. It's all boys, no girls at all. My mom is the only woman in the family. Um, so my oldest brother, he's a travel nurse in California. My brother that's up under me, Darrell Luter Jr., he actually plays with the 49ers. And then my little brother, the youngest, I guess you could say he's a little content creator. He's all on TikTok, things of that nature. Um, Went to school at Oak Grove High School. One cool fact is Brett Favre was my high school football coach. We won state in 2014. Brett was our coach. What a lot of people don't know is Brett was always kind of around the area, just kind of laying low. But in 2014, 2013, that's when he officially became our offensive coordinator. And then from there, won state that year. Ended up leaving high school after I graduated, went to Alcorn State University, played ball for a while. Probably left maybe like a year after that, started working. I think I was working at Walmart. And it was good, good money or whatnot. And I had a cousin that was going to school at Southeastern, and I said, well, hey, I don't have anything else to do. So ended up going to Southeastern, and that's actually where, life kind of went up a little bit for me. I actually met my wife at Southeastern. And then from there, that's when I started working in the industry, 2018, after I dropped out of college.
Let's walk through your career step by step. So you get on a boat at 164 Fleet first.
164.
Fill me in on that experience and present it maybe as if somebody's listening out there that's thinking about getting into the industry. Like what should they expect when you got out there getting on a boat for the first time? I mean, were you on the water much growing up?
No, I don't fool with water. Put it like that. I never fool with water. But so got on that Raleigh Elizabeth. My car, I actually needed a car. So I was kind of motivated, driven a little bit. 55 days as I stayed on the boat. My first hitch, 55 days. And the first time I stepped foot on a boat, you got to rocking everything going on. I said, oh man, I don't know about this. Granted, I was on a fleet boat at the time, getting ready to go to the Raleigh. So it was a lot more swirly, of course. I was like, oh man, this don't seem too hot, And after a night on that fleet boat, sent me to the Raleigh, it wasn't as much rocking. I said, okay, this may not be bad. And I just finished playing ball. So as far as the work, when it came to putting toes together or whatnot, it wasn't bad. I looked at it as a workout, and I know a lot of people say, oh, everybody say that. No, I actually looked at it as a workout. I learned quickly from it, and it wasn't bad at all. It's a very simple job, I'd say, as far as putting barges together, tightening wires, and laying rigging. I just think that you just have to have the drive for it. You got to be tough. I think a lot of people try to come out. I've talked to a lot of guys who wants to give it a try, and they'll come out and, either being gone from the house steers them back to going to the house or just the work. But I think that if you come out with that mindset, hey, look, I got to work, I just got to do what I got to do, then it'll work out for you. So like I said, I stayed out for 55 days, needed a car. So I said, I might as well do something. I need some money. And the hitch wasn't bad. The only thing that caused me to almost quit, I'm a Southern guy. So I think I was somewhere up in Kentucky. It was rain and it was cold, maybe like 20 something degrees out there on the head of toe, wind whipping. I said, man, I don't know if I can do this type of weather or whatnot. I need some heat or something, but I made it through that. And that was my worst deal. If I could have made it through some cold weather, I said the heat ain't nothing, So from there, I kind of started getting the gist of everything, finding out that we work in all types of weather. So I just had to put up or shut up. And from there, you look over that, it wasn't bad. I did my 55 days, went home, looked at my money. I said, well, this is the most money I ever made. This not too bad at all, I wasn't spending anything. The food was good on the boat. I said, well, this is perfect. So, did my deal with that. Not too long after, I think I ended up going to Kenny Wilson's boat, the Charles Strait, at the time when he was the captain over there. And I was running deckhand at the time. But Ronnie Coop was my mate. And at the time, it was just, I learned as a deckhand, obviously you have to tighten the wire. So you have to look to see what your mate is doing. So I was looking and I kind of knew how the wires were being made. So Kenny saw my work ethic. And by the time I got off that hitch, he said, look, you want to come back over? I'll make you second mate. I said, oh, that sounds pretty good to me, and from there I went back and just, learned the whole ordeal. And he was a stickler about, laying wires right, not falling down, making sure toe was tight. So from on down, he put that in me. So from there, I ended up becoming his mate. And, I talked to Kenny for a while and he told me, he said, look, you could, you get up here in this wheelhouse, you can make pretty decent money. And he told me what you can make. I said, well, that ain't pretty decent. That's pretty good. So that is what kind of drove me. And not saying that you need a degree to make good money or whatnot, but I didn't have one. I dropped out of school, so I needed to do something. And I always look at the top, what is it that I can advance to do or to make whatever. And so I put my mindset on the wheelhouse. And from there I worked, had a couple bumps in the road. Think ended up leaving Western, left, went to Blessy, came back, went to Western, and then I ended up at Terrell. Terrell gave me a chance, cut me loose. That's when I ran around on that Miss Lynn. Kind of got some of my a lot of my learning right there. They say once you cut loose on your own, that's when you kind of do a lot of your learning. So granted, even though it wasn't a big boat, but I learned a lot from just running by myself sometime, whether it was light boat handling or whatever, line handling with the boat. I learned that. And then I ended up at Marquette, because I wanted to get on bigger toes. And not saying that Terrell didn't have bigger toes, but I guess you could say I was just impatient. And I knew that I found out that Marquette had a posting program. And of course, Marquette pushes 30, 40 barges, of course. So I ended up at Marquette. They told me, yes, we do a posting program. We'll do this, we'll do that. So at the time, the only thing that I ran, like I said, was the Tennessee, 30 miles of the Cumberland, and maybe down to Cairo from Kentucky Lock. So I got there, got the Marquette. Never in my life had been on the upper as far as being in the wheelhouse. And I was like, man, it'll be easy, making these locks. You just either shoot straight in and you'll be good. That wasn't the case. I started learning how to make the locks, and I was like, oh man, I've came in a couple times where I've all jacked up, and I was like, man, it has to be something to making these locks. It can't be that hard, and ended up with Captain David Webster, and he just slowed me down a little bit because it could be nerve-wracking behind those sticks. Up there by yourself, you ain't got nobody in your ear, so it's best to kind of know what's going on. So he kind of slowed me down a little bit, told me, hey, look, you need to read the river. This is what the river is doing to you. This is why it's setting you out, or this is why it's setting you in. You need to set up this way. You need to bring your speed down. So from being with him and other captains that I've steered with, putting it all into one, you kind of, everything slows down and it kind of, all falls into place. So up until that point, up until last week, I got cut loose on the Illinois River, the upper, and down to Cairo with 15. And it's exciting. It's nerve-wracking and it's exciting. The only reason it's nerve-wracking is not because you don't know what you're doing, it's just you don't have nobody else behind you no more. It goes back to whenever I was cut loose over there at Terrell's, there's nobody else behind me. So you got to be on your P's and Q's. And I think the scariest thing is it's not the fact, like I said, you don't know what you're doing, it's just you don't want to mess up. I think a lot of people feel that way. And I've talked to a couple of people in the industry, you're not scared because, you got 20 in front of you or whatnot. You just don't want to mess up. And that's the biggest thing. You just don't want to mess up. So me being a younger wheelman, I think that's my biggest thing. I've heard wheelmen say maybe 5 years after, then you'll kind of start leveling out. You won't be as nervous as anything like that. But for now, sweaty palms, sweaty palms.
Fill me in, I guess, if you can. The Riley Elizabeth, where'd you run? And I guess walk me through your career, all the boats you've been on, and what kind
So
of tow you were shoving.
actually, interesting. I was on that Riley Elizabeth just for 55 days. The first time I've ever been on that boat. It was the last time. I never got a chance to get back on that. And we ran anywhere from Myrtle Grove, Louisiana to, at the time, if I can remember on hand, it was just to St. Louis. We never made it to the upper on there. From there, ended up on the Charles Strait, and I was Kenny's mate for a couple years, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. Same thing, ran the lower, um, decked for him, and then I ended up when I did come back to Western, it was the Stone Strait, and that's when on deck I ended up going to the upper. Ended up riding 4 months straight before. And it kind of, I guess you could say that kind of helped me out because I was also trying to get in the wheelhouse, and I figured that, running this many days, I could go ahead and get my time in for my license, because I'll be honest with you, I was going to get my license on my own regardless. And, that a lot of people may say that's bad or whatnot, but I was determined, and I didn't care. I knew that if I got my license on my own, somebody later on in life was going to pick me up, give me a chance. So, but that 4 month span, it wasn't bad. I did my regular 2 months on the lower, then I got a chance to run on the upper, and the upper was kind of like, kind of laid back, from 30, 40 boards just going to 15, maybe 16. Oh, man, we making locks. It feels good out here. So the upper was kind of like a break for me, and it wasn't bad, so ran on the Stone Straight. And I met a Kyle Finning. I think you've done a podcast with him before. And, I usually talk to a lot of women when I was on deck. And he said, look, I tell you like this, and I don't know if he was tripping at the time or if he was regular, but he was like, look, you ever get in the wheelhouse, it's best to be able to know all these rivers, it's best to, that way you got job security, or if they need you to run over here, you can do that, you're not just limited. So I kept that in mind. So my goal is to be able to run wherever, whenever, and not sweat about it, you know. Ended up with Blessy, went to Blessy, and I think I ended up at Blessy because I was just frustrated. I said, man, well, I got my license, and it's like, man, I'm not being steered or anything like that. So I was frustrated. Went to Blessy Marine. Blessy was laid back compared to, line hauling. Well, I'm tanking. Tanking is not bad. You just had to learn, how your valves, you had to learn the barge, and that wasn't bad. I said, well, you know what? I can make a career out of being a tankerman. But, deep down, I was like, man, I really want to get in that wheelhouse. I really do. And I think I called Kenny one night and I said, hey, you still willing to steer me, if I get my license? He said, as long as you get your license. I guess he wanted me to show that I was serious about it. And I was. I went, got my license on my own out of Houston. And lo and behold, passed everything. And sorry to say, but I quit Blessy, and I went to Western, but a lot of people, I don't know if people say it's job hopping or whatnot, but I feel like, to get to where you need to go, sometimes you have to do what you need to do. But I also understand too, working from within, but like I said, I just think I was frustrated at the time. And but I ended up, it worked out in the end, got my license, started steering, started seeing the difference from what it looks like on deck, versus being in the wheelhouse, driving, dealing with sounders. I think that was one big thing that made me get in the wheelhouse. I got sick of fooling with sounders, and I got sick of fooling with the cold weather. So I said, man, forget this. I got to get in the wheelhouse. They always saying it's 65 degrees up here, 70 degrees. I said, I need to be up there with them. So ended up over there and didn't have any problems after that. And well, like I said, I ended up in Marquette. I've been on the Angela Kay, the David Fields, and the Rebecca Asperge. When I first started posting, they had me in different places or whatnot. And that Fields wasn't a bad boat. It's pretty smooth. I think it is a Jeff boat, if I'm not mistaken. It was pretty smooth. Like I said, that's when I met Webster. And he showed me, he said, look, if you could drive this boat, you can drive any other boat around here. So I got the hand of that. And, after that, seeing a couple more different boats, it was like, okay, it really is the same. It's not bad. As long as you know what you're doing and slow down about everything is fine. So, yes, sir.
I know you said you met your wife at Southeastern. What was, I guess, for the audience, maybe that is not in the industry, How tough is it on home life? You said you were gone for 4 months.
So home life, as when we first started dating, so basically, yeah, she's been with me since I started. And I guess it depends on the spouse, because I asked her, I say, look, I'm gone 30 days at a time. And I don't think we was as serious at the time. But I say, look, I'm gone a certain amount of time. Are you cool with that? And she said, yeah, I'm fine with it. And of course, that's what she said. And we kind of put up with it for a while. And, of course, women, I just hate you being gone for so long. And I think at times she's cool with it. It gives her a break from me. Cause after 2 weeks, I'm probably getting on the nerves. And it also gives that time to where she wants me back. So she hates it, but she loves it. It's not bad. And I've oftentimes told her as well. I say, look, when I get to the wheelhouse, I get some years up under my belt. I may just start tripping. That way I can be home whenever, I can work whatever I want. So I think she has that mindset and that goal and mindset as well. But it's not bad. It's a sacrifice for sure. I will say that much. And now that I have a son, I have a 1-year-old son, it makes it a little bit more difficult, because you don't want to miss those memories with your little ones. And but I don't think it's as bad, Thank God for FaceTime and Zoom, it kind of helps mend that time being gone sometime, So I say to the person who may wants to come out and worried about being gone, of course it's gonna suck. I'll be honest with you, it sucks being gone, but sometimes you just have to make that sacrifice and put up and shut up. Before you know it, 2 or 3 weeks gone by, you're back at home. So that's what I'd say.
Well, any good stories coming to mind from your time out there, man? It's only been 6 years. I'm trying to think back through 30 of them, like some of these guys I've got.
Oh man, let's see. Do I have any stories?
Well, talk some shit about Webby, about Kyle Finning, especially. That'd be great. Mike Forbes, man. Anything you think of. Deckhand issues, anything.
Oh man, we don't want to talk about deckhand issues. Let's see. Do I have any good story? Now you got me thinking, man. I think when I first got out there, they tried to get me with some fog fans. They used to do like I need you to go get the fog fans if it's foggy out there. And I think when I first got out there, I said, man, it is pretty foggy. I've never been on a river at all. So I didn't know it got as foggy like that. And me being from Mississippi, it's not going, I'm not around the water. So, the fog that I know we see on the river, nothing compared to land. And hey, why don't you go out there and find them fog fans for us? Okay. And I'm looking around, I'm looking, man, I don't see no fog fans around here. Man, just keep looking, just keep looking. And I never come to find out there isn't no fog fans. It was out there just messing with me, man. So I'm looking foolish or whatnot. But I don't think I've had too many crazy stories. I don't want to lie to you, Tim. I've probably had some times where I've almost fought. I will say that much, which is probably bad. But I guess after being gone for so long, and you got heads starting to butt, at the dinner table. Sometimes the room needs to be cleared out. But I'm kind of like a mellow person, so I don't think I've had any too bad of stories, or anything crazy. Um, there was this one time I do remember this with Captain Mike Forbes. This is when I found out that Captain Mike, I think he did Golden Gloves. We had a deckhand came up, and we kept trying to tell him, "Hey, look, this is what you need to do. This is your job. This is what you need to do. Everybody's had to do it or whatnot." And he ended up going upstairs to the wheelhouse one day, and he was up there for a while, and all of a sudden, Mike came over the radio. Hey, Dion, I think you need to come get this hand up here. I said, what are you talking about? Well, apparently, the hand had getting up in Mike's face or whatnot. So and Mike was pretty heated. Mike didn't do anything or whatnot, but I don't want to put it past him, but Mike was pretty heated, and I had to snatch him up and rough him up. I had to get the hand, just about throw him down the stairs, just to, hey, look, man, you're messing with the captain, man, you get yourself fired. And lo and behold, he was gone. But as far as the craziest thing, that's probably the craziest thing. I had somebody run up on a wheelman, because oftentimes I always hear about it, like, you run up on a wheelman while they're, driving. If you hit them or whatever, you're done, and to see that actually happen in person, I said, well, I seen that firsthand account. I don't think they want to do that again. So as far as craziest thing, I think that's been the craziest. Um, I haven't been a part of anything bad. I will say that much. Um, Good memories. I will say that. Good memories so far.
Well, what's the best memory comes to mind?
Um, well, it's fresh. I guess you could say getting cut loose. It's been a process. Because it's not. I'm not gonna say it's easy, and I'm not gonna say it's hard, but it's a process. It's a lot to put it in. So after stand up after watch, putting in 18 hours, stand up to see this bridge, stand up to see this lock. It's like, man, finally, you get some type of relief, because I said, man, I work in the fleet. That's fine. I can go home every day, but I've always had the goal to be on big toes. My end goal is to eventually be on 40 something barges, 30, 40 something barges, so 15, 16 right now, that's good enough for me. That's plenty. 20, whatever, it's plenty for me right now. It gives me time to kind of, get used to these size toes, and learn it. So I guess you could say my biggest memory so far is just getting cut loose. It's a sigh of relief, and it's a celebration for me, because this is what I've been working hard for, and it's finally here. So that's been my greatest memory so far.
Well, where all are you posted? And well, I guess what's your favorite place to run?
Um, I am posted on the upper Mississippi, northbound. I haven't had too much southbound, but this next time I come, um, Captain Webster is going to run down with me, probably 2 hitches southbound at least, and then we're going to get that handled. But I'm cut loose on the upper, cut loose on the Illinois, and I'm cut loose from St. Louis to Cairo. My favorite spot, I would guess you would say, is I like running the upper. The reason I like running the upper is because on the lower it's nothing but trees, and sticks, and more trees and more sticks and more water. At least with the upper, I run into different cities, get to see different things. So I think that kind of breaks up the hitch, versus running 30 days straight on the lower and I see the same thing every single day, just see woods every single day. I think seeing something different every day, maybe makes the hits go by a little bit quicker. So I guess you could say the upper Mississippi.
Well, I think that covers all the questions I would normally have, man. Anything else to add?
No, excited to get back on. Uh I actually leave back out tomorrow for another hitch. We'll probably do some riding this time. But I don't think I have any too much more to say. I actually do appreciate you for inviting me to the podcast. When Webby told me about it, I said, "You want to interview me?" I said, "I don't know, man. We'll see." And he kind of talked me more into it. I said, "Yeah, that's fine. It's for the industry. I don't mind. And that way they could see from a younger guy's perspective. What I think about it and how things have been going for me." So I really do appreciate you for getting me on the podcast there, Tim.
No problem, man. How'd you end up finding the podcast or hearing about it, I guess?
I think maybe through Facebook, probably. I think I follow the Towbone page, of course, and maybe I've seen one of your posts. Let's see what this is about. Because in actuality, I don't think that I know of, as far as for my industry, there's anything like a podcast or like a channel or whatnot. And I'm very curious about learning more about the industry as well. So when I found out about your podcast, I said, "Oh, great! I got somebody that's doing something with the industry." So that's kind of how I found out about it. Yes, sir.
Good to go, man. A couple have popped up since I started doing this, but nothing quite like I'm doing that I've
That's,
seen. And not like I have a whole lot of time to watch anybody else's
yeah,
stuff.
that's right.
This has become a second job. But look, man, I appreciate it. Go get some time with your family tonight and have a good hitch. We'll keep in touch.
Yes, sir. No problem. I appreciate you there, Tim.
Thank you, bud. This has been a production of Where You At Studios, LLC.